Welcome to the Undiscovered Gems podcast, hosted by NBA legend and business powerhouse Charles D. Smith, highlighting today's best and brightest business minds.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Undiscovered Gems. We're here today with our Professional of the Year, Lynn Winters. Boy, wait till you hear this interview. Lynn is a certified hypnosis. She's a Reiki master, but also she's a past life regression hypnosis. And we'll get into that because that's very important. Lynn, welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Great. Happy to have you on. Lynn, first tell us, how did you get into hypnosis and a Reiki master? How did you get into it?
Well, I think I've always been a seeker, and I've had senses of certain energies, and for years and years I poo-pooed them. And I decided that it just got so I had to go into and find out what they were. I chose Reiki to begin with because it seemed to be the most socially accepted and not very negative and scary. So I began taking Reiki training. I went all the way to become a Reiki master. I was so fascinated by it. And I also was doing one-on-one counseling with people. And someone came to me with a teenager who was talking about things that just didn't seem like they were making sense in this lifetime for some reason. I'd never had past life regression or hypnosis at all. And so I kept hearing this. It's going to sound strange, I don't care. I kept hearing this voice say, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. So I looked into it and became a certified hypnosis specialist and specializing in past life regression hypnosis. And it's fascinating, and no two are the same. It's so interesting. So I really think it has to do with being on the track of really wanting to find out what's really going on.
Yeah, but now you're on the track. What were some of the things that happened to you? What were some of the symptoms? Was it physical? Was it more mental? What is it that you kept like a thumb was on you, just pressing and you kept feeling? What was it? Give us an example of some of those
things. Like I would be talking to someone and I would say their name wrong. Like I would say maybe their name would be Mary and I might accidentally call them Rose or something. And they would stop in their tracks and they go, why did you say that? And then I said, I just kind of made a mistake. And they said, because my so-and-so sister Rose just passed and I'm really upset by it. It's weird things like that. Or sometimes I would see things and I'd say, oh, did you see that person walk by the window? And they'd go, no. Or sometimes I would see or hear things. I would hear, it wasn't like thoughts in my own head. It was like there was a voice saying something to me like, everything's fine, or you'll be all right, or, things that were like that. And I thought to myself, also physically, I would feel things. Like if somebody would talk about their mother that died and they were connecting that with some theory that they were thinking about themselves or working on something about themselves, I would get a rush of goosebumps from the top of my head all the way to the tip of my toes, like a rush. And I started to notice that was when some people were talking about someone that had crossed. And I felt like it had to be a message of something, like maybe it means that they're really there. Or so I began to call it my truth meter, that when I would have a physical sensation that something was going on, I didn't know what was going on, but something was. Eventually, it was so prevalent that I just needed to find out more about energy.
Wow. And I asked you that because there's so many people in this world. We are energy. And there's so many people in this world that have these things that happen to them and they don't pursue it. Like you said, you poo-pooed it for a little while, but we don't pursue it. And these are real things. These are real energetic happenings within us that we do not push forward to find out what they're all about. So I'm glad you shared that. Now let's hop into the first, the Reiki training that you do. You're a Reiki master, and that's energy through the palms. Talk about that first to give the audience an understanding of exactly what Reiki training is.
Okay. Reiki energy is energy that is God consciousness. That means it's a very high vibrational frequency of positive, loving energy. And It's channeled directly down into myself and through my hands into the client. And
Hmm.
if someone is sick, whether they are emotionally sick or have an addiction or have an injury of their shoulder or something, it really means that their energy is out of alignment and not flowing. And so once the Reiki energy reaches them, it's all knowing. It knows exactly where to go and how to realign it and put it back into the best function possible. Now,
Hmm.
if someone, let's say someone has developed a condition because they have stinking thinking, that they are always negative, the Reiki energy will
Hmm.
really help them. But if they go back to that same thought pattern, which creates energy, then they're going to be out of alignment again, and so they'll need
Sure.
something more consistent and or hopefully to change themselves.
Right. So we have, the Reiki that, it is an art. We are energy. It is energy. Now you're also a certified hypnosis. How do you merge those two at all? How do they coexist with the training and treatment that you do?
The Reiki training really has to do with a direct tapping into the energy, and sometimes I have
Mhm.
clients that come in with specific conditions or overstressed or something like that. And I will ask them if they would like to let me play one of my recordings of the Winter Self Hypnosis
Mm.
series, like a stress release, or perhaps they have insomnia while they're
Hmm.
getting Reiki. And so this is a way of having them use their consciousness and apply their consciousness to the healing process of themselves, because hypnosis is their volunteering hypnosis. A hypnotist
Sure.
cannot um, change you. They can only guide you to relaxation and imagination, and that level of functioning where you're in imagination and relaxation, the emotion is there also, is where you tap into your subconscious mind. And in your subconscious mind is where all of your programming is. And so if you want to change something or shift a gear, change your energy, that's the place to go, is to go into your subconscious mind and shift it there.
Hmm. So you may discuss energy in forms of anxiety. You're healing people from stress. Are there physical ailments that you've dealt with in the past with
Yes.
Reiki training?
Yes.
Like, give us an example.
One time a man came to me. He had a terrible um, strained muscle in his lower back on the left hand side, really very painful. He could hardly get up on the table. So I got him up on the table and I did an overall Reiki treatment with him, and then I put one hand underneath the actual his back, his lower back, where the treatment was, and another of my hand on top of his body. And I just stayed there for
Mm.
about half an hour, just channeling the energy into that spot. And when he got up, he could move. He felt so much better. And after he left, when I went back to work on the table and change the table, I noticed that the coating that was on my table melted from the energy so much that my handprint was on the table.
Mm. Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and for him to be so much in pain to be able to get up and walk away after that treatment, that's just evidence again that we are energy, and with the proper tools with people like yourself, you can heal people from our basic traditional way of healing that we know. Um, Now you have with your name, you have the Winters hypnotic series, hypnosis series that you do. Talk a little bit about that. What is that?
The Winter Self Hypnosis series has a collection of 7 different conditions that hypnosis really will impact, and you can do it with yourself in the recordings, and it's life friendly. You can do it around your own life, and it is very affordable, more affordable than actually going to a hypnotist. Each
Hmm.
CD or recording, you can get them on digital, has 2 tracks. The first track has the dialogue that I wrote with back music, and the dialogue has a minimum of 3 different hypnosis techniques in that recording that are specifically designed for that condition. And the back music, I also have a degree in music, so I'm really into sound. And so the back music has three different types of sound therapy in it that will also impact that condition very strongly. It can be something that would be a different pitch. It can be a different
Mm.
timbre, like maybe water or birds or blow drums. Like, for example, one of the recordings is called Cigarette Control. That one has very deep tones, seem to help people the most to decide how much they want to smoke or if they want to smoke not at all. And then the
Hmm.
second track has just the back music. So if you listen to the first track repeatedly, and let's say you're doing a Thanksgiving dinner and you've been listening to the stress release CD, but there's people around and you can't really go into a seat and sit
Hmm.
down and do it.
Hmm.
If you just play the back music, you will have the same impact without the trance.
Mm. I believe in, music and sound for healing so much to the point where even in evenings, just last night, I might hear a white noise when I go to sleep, or a tone or music that's healing, but you have different hertz levels.
Yes.
Now, for our audience, and you utilize sound, talk a little bit about that. How do the levels work? What sounds do you choose for what type of healing? How does that all work?
I can give you a basic understanding that would be something you could take into any kind of music. So
Okay.
basically, there are seven main chakras in your body. Sometimes they're just called energy centers. Sometimes they're called chakras. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
but really, you have 21 of them in your whole entire body. The main seven are up your body, up the body core from the between your legs is the root one, and then a little bit above, a couple inches below your belly button is the second one, and then the next one is above your belly button in your solar plexus, and then your heart chakra, then your throat chakra, then they call it your third eye, the right here in between your eyes, but on your forehead, and then right on top of your head. And each one of those has a different vibrational pitch to it.
Mm,
And
got it.
so, and each chakra is really like a governor, an energetic governor of a certain body part area. And so, and in that body part area, it may have certain, I'm going to say, personality connections with that body part. Okay. Like, for example, the first chakra has a lot to do with your sexuality, reproduction,
Mm-hmm.
groundedness. And so, when that chakra is out of alignment, now, when I do my Reiki sessions, I often take a crystal pendulum and check each one of those chakras. And if they're supposed to be rotating in a clockwise motion. Now, if you are below the equator, it's going to go in the opposite direction, which I find really interesting. But if it's
Mm,
going in the clockwise direction in an even circle, then it's in alignment. But not often is it doing that if you have come because you have a certain condition. And it can be going in the opposite direction totally. It can be going up and down, or it can be going sideways, or it can be just standing still and like vibrating. And that's
mm,
when you'll know that something is out of alignment. But when it's put back into alignment, whether it's Reiki or even crystal treatments, um, you'll be functioning a lot better. And so each one of those chakras that has a different vibrational frequency, and yes, it's associated to pitch,
the
as you
pitch.
go
Okay.
up the body, will be reflective of the condition of your body. And so that's why
So,
pitch helps.
yeah, and that's a great explanation. What about the reverse? Can a pitch sound be used to have a negative impact on someone just as much as?
That's a very good
Yeah.
question. It really has to do with not so much the pitch as much as the um, chaotic interference. You know,
Mm,
it's more of a disjunction feeling that would make someone feel agitated versus peaceful. That
ah,
can what that would do is it would put a person in a state of stress, because when you're stressed you have that feeling.
right.
If there's sound that gives it that feeling, it can put your body in a stressful situation. what's so interesting and actually dangerous kind of about that is we can become addicted to stress, and so we can
Really?
really, yeah, oh yeah, most of us are actually. We can become addicted to stress and never give ourselves or our brain or our body an opportunity to repeatedly be in peace. And so if that's the way, then you might like um, intense kind of
Hmm.
music. You know, so it depends.
Lynn, yeah, but you're making me think because people say words matter. Be careful what comes out of your mouth, protect your mind and what you hear. But very seldom do I hear people say, watch the music or be careful the music you listen to or the pitch, the tones in music that you hear, because that can have, like you're saying, that can have an impact. And we listen, parents, kids, I had children, they're all grown now, but I've never paid attention to the music that they listen to from a negative impact other than the words.
Right.
But you're saying sound and pitches can do the same thing.
Yes, they can. And actually, I love this. This is so interesting to me. Every word you speak also has a vibrational frequency. Every
Mm,
word you speak has a vibrational frequency. They did a test where they took pure water and they wrote one word on each bottle of water and left it
I
there.
saw
And
that.
and so uh, the language that you speak and the vibrational frequency, those are frequencies. The vibrational frequencies that are in something that's negative or words that are negative also has an impact. And the interesting thing about the body is it doesn't know the difference between whether you are actually living that experience or whether you are witnessing that experience or whether you are thinking that experience. It doesn't know the difference.
Wow. Well, I hope our audience is learning as much as I am because every time you say something, it triggers another thought. Um, words do matter. Sound, pitch matters. So now, how do you work with someone under hypnosis to give them the maximum, you know, input or impact that they need at that time? Can you adjust? And let me rephrase it. Sorry, Lynn, because my brain
That's
is
okay.
moving. But can you do too much too soon for someone when you're
That's a good
in
question.
healing them?
I
Yeah.
think that yes, you can always overload someone, but not in the way that you're thinking. There's never too much love that you can receive, love energy.
Okay.
So that will
Mhm.
never overload you. That will only realign you and enlighten you. Like make you brighter, bigger, better. Uh, but you can the person individual that is the healer or practitioner. Um, there has to be a neutrality and a respectful perspective from that practitioner to the person to really be. Yes, I have a lot of tools, and yes, I have an insight, and I have intuition, and all these things. That's really wonderful, but I really have to put my conscious into being neutral and open to whatever I receive, because that's when they're going to be receiving the most benefit is when I'm open to taking the information and meet them where they're at, and then just kind of fly with them and give them whatever they need and can take. It's like healing an onion. You want to heal one layer
Mhm.
and then another layer. You want your
Sure.
client to always be the leader, uh, and not impose what you think on them.
So, right. And Lynn, I'm gonna put you in a sports scenario for a
Okay.
second. You know, me being a former professional athlete, and I see in this current day mental health, mental health, mental health. Now I hear some athletes getting hypnosis treatment and all these things for mental health and anxiety and all. When you're playing sports, your mind is the toughest thing that you have because that's what makes you excel.
Right.
When you allow negative thoughts and comments, because you have to, when you're playing at the highest level, you have to feel that you're Superman and it's never going to end,
Right.
right?
Right.
The minute you let um, despair, negativity, different things creep into your mind, you lose your edge,
Right.
right? So now people are talking about mental health, but for me, it's like either you're going to play and you're going to deal with it or you're not. But I can't say that
Right.
publicly, and I shouldn't say that because it's almost like you're being insensitive.
I think
But
that
at
what,
the same time, that's sports.
yes,
So
I think,
now,
go ahead.
how
I'm
do
sorry.
you? Yeah, no, go ahead. You know where I'm going. So
Yeah,
how do you address
you're getting me excited. I think
that?
that what you're saying is absolutely the truth. We, but what the difference between what it looks like society's perspective is and the one that you're speaking from is the brain is always functioning and it's always creating a vibrational frequency. And we follow our thoughts and we follow our emotions, which are our
I see.
hearts. And so
Yeah.
when we are designed to have our heart and our head in alignment and not uh, know that you want to win, but don't have the feeling that you're going to win, then you're not going to win. You have to have both of them together at all times. And so, and that's not just when you're doing sports, when you're living life, the consequences
Mm-hmm.
are going to be the same, And so if
Mm-hmm.
you have, you're in a, I'm a superhero and I can do this and I'm actually doing this and I'm feeling like a superhero that I'm doing this, then you're
Mm-hmm.
going to be having that outcome. But if you're having this thought, I, I want to be healthy. I want to, like, whatever it is, doesn't matter. I want this, I want this, I want this, and you really, really want this, but your heart's having doubt or or neglect or fear, then you're not going to have it.
Right.
you know.
Right.
So the two have to be in alignment. But I think that athletes have in the course of their training, they have the perspective, whether they call it the alignment of their thoughts and their feelings together, and that's when they perform the best. They may not know that that's what's happening, but that's what's happening.
I love that. I love that. That nails it for me. It's the alignment of your feelings and your thoughts.
Right. They have to be
You can
aligned.
have you can feel it and you want to go do it, but you got this negative thought creeping in, and that's what throws you off. But still, I don't think this how they're moving in the space of sports with mental health is the right way to go about it because I think you nailed it. It's a simple adjustment. Are your feelings and are your thoughts aligned?
Right.
Period. End of story. If they're not, then adjust it. But I don't know where it's going through all this mental health and I can't perform. You can't perform because your thoughts and your feelings aren't aligned.
Correct.
That's it.
Correct.
I've never heard it that way, but that's
Yeah.
it.
I want to add something to what you're saying to take it from there into the next avenue that you're talking about with mental health. Um, I think that one of the necessities in this perspective of keeping ourselves whole and healthy mentally, um, other than therapy and all those other things, is I don't think that we in our everyday lives take ourselves out of the stress gear often enough. We basically have
Mm,
five, but we use four all the time. Four different vibrational frequencies or states of the brain, states of the mind, based on the different
mhm,
vibrational frequencies. Okay. Beta, which is in everyday life when we are analyzing and learning information. Um, Alpha,
mhm,
which is often meditation, where let's say you take a really long walk and you come back and you feel differently. You have shifted your energy. You're an alpha. Um, uh, that's emotion also. And in theta, you are in and out of theta all the time. Let's say you take a drive for a really, really long time and you get there and you don't remember the trip, but you somehow
mm,
manage to get
mhm.
there. And just before you fall asleep at night, um, but you're not quite into delta, you're not quite into sleep yet, but you're almost there. We are in a place where there's images and emotion. And if someone said, hey, Charles, come here, you would have the wherewithal to decide, I think I want to stay and go to sleep, or, oh, okay, I'll get,
Mhm.
that's theta. So you are in and out of all of those, and delta is when you're sleeping. And so I think
Mm.
that we don't go in and out of those enough. I recommend that people meditate to learn to control their brain, and they'll be able to turn themselves into those athletes easier if they can control their brain and give themselves a break. We're not designed to live in stress. If you witness animals, they're in stress when they're in stress, and there's another beast trying to eat them. That's appropriate to get out of there. But
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, if you just look at them, 2 seconds later, they're grazing. We don't do that. We don't stop often enough.
Right. So you mentioned alpha, delta, and beta. And then when you're talking about sleep, I hear people talk about they have these thoughts, images, and clarity during a REM state, during their REM state. What is that REM state as you mentioned, alpha, delta,
Okay.
and beta? Is that in
When
there
you,
somewhere?
yes, let me just back up a little bit and say, when you go to sleep, you're designed to go from beta to alpha to theta into delta. And when you wake up, you are designed to go backwards in the same system. The reason people have sleep
Okay.
disorders is because they don't go through those. We're designed to go through them in different
Wow.
directions. When
Wow. Yeah.
usually the very vivid dreaming, where you really, I call it like a dream hangover. You wake up the next day and you feel like it really happened. Those very vivid dreams in the early morning are when you're in a certain vibrational frequency and the melatonin is very, very strong. And oftentimes you'll
Mm-hmm.
have very vivid dreams. Those vivid dreams are not just because of the chemicals. Yes, they are, but I think that the greater intelligence, a bigger energy is using that opportunity to show you something in those dreams. And it's your those vivid dreams. It's your job to figure them out and hopefully apply it.
Right. Wow. You know, the series. Now, I'm just going to ask you one more question about your hypnosis. So, based on what we were talking about, say someone needs to get their thoughts and their 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 thoughts and feelings aligned. Take us kind of step by step on how you would do that in your hypnosis for the audience. Like, what do you do when they come in and they need this?
Well, the first thing that I do is I get them to feel comfortable and grounded, and I smudge them with sage because it's a Native American tradition that moves out the negative energy or the negative frequencies from their sphere. I
Hmm.
also get them to focus in on their body parts and relaxing each one of them. What that does is it narrows your focus out from the outside world and all the stresses into a
Hmm.
smaller view, and they can send the mental message to their each body part to relax. And then I work on having them go to their heart and imagining opening their heart and breathing into their heart, sometimes breathing into your heart and opening your heart and letting the love in and then exhaling out the stresses. So they literally are putting their attention, because the energy flows where your attention goes. And so if
Okay.
you focus on those, it'll happen.
Great. Great. So based on our discussion, what are some of the things you want our audience to leave with? We talked about so much, and there's so much more to talk about, but what do you want them to walk away with?
I would say walk away with making sure that you stop in the day several times in the day and give yourself a break. You can take 3 minutes, close your eyes for 3 minutes, set the timer on your phone so that you don't have to think about it, and just let everything go. Just let everything
Mm,
go. And I say to myself when I do that, it's just going to be me with me, just me with me. And I just kind of shut it all out. You want to get your brain used to shifting gears. You can control the energy field that you're in. No one else can
mhm.
control the energy field that you're in. And the other thing I want to say is anything and everything is possible. Know that.
Mm, mm. Anything and everything is possible. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Because you are a spiritual being that happens to be having a physical experience. And so the more you understand the design of yourself and the design of energy, and you can get more out of your design. They say that we only experience 1% of reality.
Sure.
1%. And so there's so much more that you can have and access and do once you understand your own design. You can connect with the field of greater energy and become anything and do anything that you want.
Wow, that's awesome. And I want to get the proper enunciation of your company. It's Kuka Energy?
It's
Arts?
Kuka. It's
Kuka.
Kuka Energy.
KukaEnergyArts.com. That's where you can find Lynn Winters. She's in upstate New York. Lynn, do you do any work online?
I do one-on-one consultations that you can reach me through the same energy, KukaEnergyArts.com, and you can register for those.
Lynn, you are awesome. You're on the show of Undiscovered Gems. Thank you for giving us the gems of the day, of the week, of the month. This was a great show. Thank you for coming on. You are now finished with the Professional of the Year, Lynn Winters. Lynn, we hope to have you back again. Thank you for your time and your information and your knowledge. That was a great show.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Undiscovered Gems with our host, Charles D. Smith, highlighting today's best and brightest business minds. Brought to you by Pods Entertainment Group.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.